the real medicine is connection, isn't it?
Connection. That's what, at the end of each course, when people are in that vulnerability and there's been instant transformation, but there's a level of depth just after 4 or 5 weeks, and there's a connection in the room, that connectedness. Because when we're in the mind and when we're really invested into our identity, you know, we become very biased.
We can't connect.
We can't connect. So when we're biased, we protect or we defend our points of view. You know, so that perspective on life, that filter, you know, disconnects us from who we think we're not meant to like. And so it just creates separation. We want to be vulnerable. We want connection, but we have to be prepared to step through the fear and past that threshold where vulnerability is, you know. But vulnerability comes with the practice of meditation as well, because when you're nurtured in your nature, you feel open, and it can be vulnerable, but vulnerability is our greatest strength. And then you are then closer, not just to a sense of self, but you also feel like you're closing the gap, you know, where we can connect with other people.
So welcome once again to the Dare to Be Different podcast, where I interview inspirational leaders who live a life of transformation. And I'm so happy to welcome today on the podcast, Mr. Martin Bone, who is a meditation coach from Liverpool. He's much more than that. Now, I've known Martin for a while. You cannot walk around the city of Liverpool with Martin without him bumping into someone who he knows. And normally it's someone who's been influenced by him in a positive way. I've seen Martin work over a number of years, and he's changed, or he's influenced thousands of lives in the city of Liverpool through his teachings around yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. And I'm going to introduce him to the world. Martin, I can't wait for this pod and diving into whatever comes through us. It's a pleasure to see you, mate. And you've just turned 40, so happy birthday.
Thanks, mate. It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting us on the podcast. It's an exciting time for me. I just turned 40 a couple of days ago, and I feel like I'm turning a page, you know, on my life, and it feels really exciting. I think over the last week or so, I've been in some deep reflection about my life, and there's been nothing but a lot of happy thoughts, and I have no regrets. I think especially over the last 10 years, especially, you know, how my life's unfolded. I became a father, you know, I opened up a yoga studio. I recreated my reality. And so the last 10 years has been a wild ride, so to speak, inside out, outside in, upside down, you know, many twists and turns. And so I am really, I feel like a man now. You know, there's many stages of manhood, and, you know, coming into my 40s and moving towards whatever's next. I'm really excited for what's next. There is a bit of change in my endeavours, but, you know, it's all for the good, and I welcome change in my life. So yeah, it's a good time. You know, the sun's shining. I've got a little party to enjoy tomorrow. You know, with the people I love. And I like socialising in that way. You know, I keep really grounded nowadays, and I'm a man about town. But I do like to get out, and I'm a bit of a social butterfly as well. So I've got a nice balance. Yeah,
great. So me and Martin have recently been in Peru, where we held space for a group of men on a leadership retreat, which included the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. And we've facilitated these type of retreats for about 7 or 8 years now. But today is about Martin, and it's so good for me to interview you. I want to touch on meditation, but stay tuned, because this man makes meditation cool. We all know that meditation is beneficial, but so many people begin meditation, they get the wrong impression of what meditation is, and they give up, unfortunately. Now, I've practiced meditation all over the world, and it can be a dry pursuit, but I've seen this man teach meditation, and his capacity to transmit and to speak about meditation in a real life way that people can understand and grasp is second to none. He doesn't look like a typical meditation guru. He's a proper Scouser. And if you don't know anything about the city of Liverpool, Scousers are friendly, but also they can sometimes there can be a chances, you know, they have a reputation for how would you describe a Scouser, Martin?
I mean, you know, we're robust, you know, and we're loyal.
Down to earth, robust, cocky.
Cocky, definitely.
But this man has a capacity to connect with people and teach them the magic of meditation. Martin, where did this all start? When did you kind of get an insight into meditation, spirituality?
I think for many years, for as long as I can remember, I always had this intuitive pull, and it felt internal. You know, there was always, I was, you know, was fascinated by life, really, you know, and the magic of how it unfolds. I always tried to, as a child, put myself behind other people, and you know, I wondered what was going on for them. So there was a level of, you know, depth and intuition for many years. I think around my mid-20s, I was coaching tennis at the time. I played tennis for a very long time. And I played at a really good level, and you know, I went into the pursuit of coaching. It was something I just naturally fell into.
Tennis coaching, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, what I realized, you know, being on the tennis court was a lot of it was emotional contact. You know, it obviously teaching people how to, you know, play tennis, you know, how to manage their own game. And, but a lot of it was emotionality. And I had a natural capacity to inject belief into other people. And it was, my delivery on a tennis court was so natural. It was something that was never forced. And I had a really great way of finding out where someone was on the tennis court and getting the best out of them. And so what came with that was an understanding of sports psychology. And you know, as an extension to that, understanding how to manage your life on a tennis court, you know, stabilizing your emotions and you know, picking the right shot, you know, managing your energy, you know, and trying to expose your opponent's weakness. So there was a lot of manipulation as well. And there was I think I always, underneath all that and off the tennis court, I was asking some big questions of life, you know. I was a big advocate of dance music for many years, so I spent a lot of time on the dance floor. And for me, that was where I only really ever felt truly connected to something beyond myself, you know. And so I think towards the later stages of my tennis career as a coach, I was really just, I wanted more, and I was asking some big questions, like who am I, or who have I become, and what do I want from life, and you know, what is God, you know, and what's all this about? So it definitely led me down a path of
Can I pause you for a second? Yeah. Like when you were asking these spiritual questions, what age were you?
I was about 26, 27.
Did you have anybody to share that with, or were you just seeking it alone and still kind of not telling your mates about it?
Very much seeking it alone.
Okay.
But, you know, I was always one for having deep and meaningful conversations. There was just this intuitive pull. And I think, you know, some of that sports psychology stuff, I realised that it wasn't really about the sport. It was just more about psychology. So I started to transfer some of the lessons I was learning around sports psychology, but into my own personal container. And that was quite difficult because there was a level of awareness that I couldn't really get away from. And it was like shining a mirror on my own behavior and the way I was acting. And some of it was, honourable, and some of it was dishonourable. But it was an opportunity to really grow up and take ownership. And then there was a level of accountability and responsibility. And that's been a long and windy road. But a friend of mine, Keely O'Keefe, she was practicing transcendental meditation at the time. And she could definitely see that I was going through a level of change, late 20s. I was coming out of a 10-year relationship. I was almost done with the tennis as well. I'd been playing since I was 5 years old. I'd been coaching hard for 10 years. I'd been partying hard for 10 years as well. And I was also, being a lad from Liverpool, I was, trying my hand at a few other things that were, just a lad about town, you know what I mean? Anything I could get my hands on, really. So I was burning the candle at quite a number of ends. And I was exhausted as well. And I definitely wanted change. I was ready for change. Yeah. And I remember sort of giving this meditation a go. And I just sat there, didn't know what I was doing. I just sat there. And instantly, after probably around 10 or 15 minutes, I remember there was like a quietness. There was no thought. There was no thoughts, but there was a sense of awareness. And I was asking, what's that? What's this sense of presence? So I had an experience quite early on, and as I've
an experience of oneness expansion.
Yeah. It was there was a sense that there was a presence, but it didn't have no specific location.
Okay, so you disappeared.
Yeah,
as what you thought you were.
Exactly. There was no thought process, so there was nothing to identify with. And what I do know now about the practice, it was an experience of naturalness or oneness or transcendence, you could say. And I remember coming out and I was overwhelmed with emotion. I also, at the time, started to practice some yoga. This was back in 2009, 2010. And I started to experience things in a yoga class that I only really ever was able to experience on the dance floor. This high, this embodiment, this natural ecstasy. So, there was experiences in a yoga class, and then there was some early moments with the meditation, and I couldn't deny the experience. And in 2011, it was late November, and I was exhausted. And I remember just coaching this guy, and in the middle of the lesson, and the racket fell out my hand, and I was done. I'd exhausted tennis, and my body was falling apart. But I think I was also ready for a journey.
How old were you?
I was 27.
27.
And I have to give thanks to the tennis because, it gave me a wonderful life. I was rubbing shoulders with a lot of professional people. I worked in a David Lloyd Centre. So I was in that wellness space already. And it gave me the capacity to, really feel into different containers and how to communicate with people. But I was ready to go on an adventure. And I was also ready to let go of some of the endeavours that I was feeling into in Liverpool that wasn't serving me, and that wasn't so honourable. And a month later, I found myself on a flight to Thailand on the 1st of January 2012. And I think intuitively, I just wanted to be still. I wanted to sit still, and I wanted to be quiet. And at the time, there wasn't, iPhones were just about coming out. So I didn't have really much distraction. And I went from like the realm of time, through my 20s, always having somewhere to go, someone to please, a level of responsibility. And it was just all this doing, and I'd exhausted it. And when I got to Thailand, I hit this level of being where there wasn't much responsibility. There was nowhere to go. There was nothing to hide away from. You know, there was no one to please. And I had 4 months of just being, and it was really spontaneous and it was timeless. And I felt like it was also a process of contemplation and healing. And towards the end of that trip, you know, I felt like I'd just meditated for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just a level of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of contemplation, you know, what, you know, who am I and what's next for me?
And did you specifically go to any
I ended
meditation
up in
retreats?
I ended up in a monastery actually with these monks in Chiang Mai, just outside Chiang Mai. And I remember going up there, and the monk said, we're starting a 10-day silent retreat tomorrow. Come back and you know, you can join us. So I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm in for this. So I went along and, you know, dressed in white. I was given a small room, like it was like a prison cell, really. It was tiny, you know, and just a small mattress on the floor. And that was my first immersion into, you know, deep stillness, contemplative traditions. And of an evening, there was a discourse, you know, with one of the monks.
Was it Vipassana?
It wasn't Vipassana, no. You know, it was, I couldn't tell you what modality it was at the time. But, you know, there was a lot of practices that, you know, we were offered, and there was a lot of walking meditation. And then of an evening, just, you know, a discourse around philosophy. But when the monks were talking of an evening around, you know, philosophy, I just knew it all. It was like, this is like, he's talking about life, you know, and I really felt like I've got a deep sense of emotional maturity. And it was just landing what he was speaking about. And I was able to reference it, you know, through a lot of moments I'd had through my 20s and even my teens. And it really, it activates something inside of me. And also with the direct experience of the practice at that time in Thailand, I couldn't deny the absolute bliss.
You've mentioned direct experience a few times, and I know what you're talking about. Just for viewers out there, like when you have this direct experience, you have to pursue more, right?
Yeah.
What did it feel like on those occasions, like in your body, for example?
It felt relaxing, first and foremost. It felt deeply relaxing. You know, I suppose I didn't realize at the time how much stress I'd actually put upon my body and how busy the mind had been through my 20s, you know, maybe chasing a dream or what I perceived success to be.
Money.
Yeah, you know, and understanding now that, you know, there was a level of fear and lack and scarcity. But that was also a driver for me. And I enjoyed how that unfolded in my 20s, but there was a level of massive burnout. And so this direct experience, first and foremost, the body just became really relaxed, and there was a quiet confidence, and there was like a natural contentment, and I was just almost happy. I was happy for no reason, you know. I'd taken away that stimulus, and there was just this level of natural happiness. I was just almost getting high on it, and I was able to reason with that and thought, there's definitely something in this. And, you know, understanding many years later, the reference points of that direct experience, you know, really it's sitting and resting in my natural vitality. But, you know, that then coming back from Thailand, I was invested. I'd had that direct experience. I couldn't deny it. And I was really invested. I came back, and then I started to pursue some, you know, many different modalities, started to practice. I also had, you know, not long after, I opened up a yoga studio. The chain of events that unfolded was, you know, when I look back, was just totally destined, really magical. You know, my dad and I were practicing yoga in a yoga studio in Liverpool called Yoga Nation. And I came back from Thailand, and there was just this chain of events. There wasn't any yoga studios in South Liverpool or up-to-date hot yoga studios. And there was a lot of synchronicities. The opportunity came for us to move into that space, and then lo and behold, in January 2013, we had our own yoga studio. So there was like this turning of a page in 2012. A lot of direct experience with the practice of meditation, letting go of this old identity of the tennis coach. And then, and also there was the archetype of the criminal, and there was an inflated warrior in there. And, I'm not really ashamed to say that, because it really shaped who I am today. And I think that's why I'm able to really, resonate with a lot of people, because I'm just, I've got a story to tell, and I'm one of the lads, really. But I've also, I've had that natural experience of transformation and direct experience. And then we opened up the yoga studio 2013, and then that was an amazing container for me. It was a wellness space, and I leaned into, the practice of yoga. I was doing a lot of yoga. We're talking like 3 hours a day. And I was blessed because there was all these wonderful yoga teachers, and I was learning from them. And I was doing a lot of my own practice. And I was also leaning into a lot of meditation. And then from there, it was hard yoga for many years, and being on the mat and cultivating attention and practicing a sense of awareness and getting into the body. Wow, the transformation was thick and fast, and some of it was really uncomfortable, and some of it was welcomed. And I knew then I was in a container of growth. And when I say growth, there was, growth for Martin, growth for my ego, and I really felt like I was stepping into a level of maturity. And then from there, there was many 10-day silent retreats then. 2014, I did a Vipassana in Hereford. And then, it was a more personal practice, then another Vipassana. And it was that was the container for many years. But it was also, I leaned into psychedelics and started to explore many wonderful ceremonies, with some incredible healers and very influential people, artists, musicians. So from like 2013 to 2015, 16, it was a daily occurrence, practicing meditation at home, going on 10-day silent retreats, exploring psychedelics, which really the parallels between psychedelics and meditation, it was almost giving me the same experience. But psychedelics was, more of a slingshot into a realm of mysticism, you could say, or understand a little bit more about my own psychology. And then the meditation gave me an opportunity to stabilize and neutralize my experience, but also just cultivate awareness. And I felt like I was switched on and I was tuned in. And then, the story goes on and on and on, but that's really where it all began. And again, with the yoga studio, it was a wonderful opportunity to practice yoga, practice meditation, meet a load of new people who were really interesting. And then lo and behold, people like yourself walked into the studio, and how my life has unfolded and manifested from that wonderful little studio on Smithdown Road. Like it was the best decision I ever made, Craig. I didn't know where I was going, when I stepped away from the tennis court, but I knew I had a lot of unactivated potential. Yeah. And I knew I had a lot of magic, and I knew I had the capacity to influence a lot of people. Yeah. But I had to almost move through and weave through it on my own, and I really worked it out a lot, and I was reading a lot of books on esoteric wisdom, and but I was also, inspired by like early Christianity and the life of Jesus, and so there was just a lot of, it was thick and fast for many years, and it was, but it was uncomfortable. But what a ride it's been. Yeah, I wouldn't change any of it. Yeah,
So I met you in Planet Yoga.
That's right.
And then you asked me what did I think was next for you. I could see that you was a brilliant teacher in the way you transmitted. And I recommended that you went to Mexico to do a 3-month meditation teacher training program, which was very, very in-depth, spending time in darkness, 10-day retreats, learning how to facilitate big groups. And we went together.
Yeah.
I was teaching on that program and you were studying that program.
Yeah.
And then when you came back, you just went for it, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You really, really went for it. Tell me what happened when you came back and how things have grown and how you've brought meditation to the city of Liverpool and your mission and over the last 7 or 8 years.
So, rewinding to 2013 and 2013, 14, 15, and into the summer of 2016 was a lot of the work was done personally, And you walked into the studio and I started seeing my partner at the time who've now got a child with. And we were also doing a lot of Kundalini yoga, which has been a massive practice for me. And I've done some training in Kundalini yoga as well. And but when you walked in, I knew about this school in Mexico from another meditation teacher. Her name was Neve. And what I noticed about her was her transmission, just the way she behaved and the way she moved. And the way she was, and the presence, and she held this school in very high regard. And when when we got to know each other, it was firstly through doing some men's work, and we started doing a few circles, didn't we? At my home and in Planet Yoga, we did some workshops, and then understanding that you actually were a facilitator. So I followed the thread really, and I have to almost give thanks because I know the course was full and. You spoke to the head teacher and you got me in, So I was, I felt like that was definitely a pass out, a move towards. And that 3-month experience I was ready for. When I look back and at that, I had 4 months in Thailand in 2012. I was ready to travel again. But I think this time I was thirsty to learn more.
Yeah.
And when I got to Mexico, I was so open. I was like a sponge. But that whole experience really just gave me the reference points and the signposts for me to piece the jigsaw together, and for me to settle into a life that I knew, was meaningful, and purposeful. That it was an intense teacher training. We're talking 6 days a week. It's 10 hours a day. You're under the influence of some incredible teachers who've done their own personal work. So Hadjananda, the head teacher, his journey individually was inspiring, and so it was a massive process for me. And obviously, we do 2 10-day silent retreats within that 90 days, and then I spent 5 days in the dark room, and then everything that came with it. So I was immersed. And when I came home, after Mexico, I went and spent a few weeks in Guatemala just to almost just to ease off the pressure, and have a bit of time out. And then I came home on the 1st of January 2017. And my only intention, I felt ready then. I'd been coaching people for many years previously on a tennis court. And then I had this container with the yoga studio, Planet Yoga, which I opened up in 2013. So I was 4 years in now. And I really, really had leaned into all this personal development. And I felt like I had a solid understanding of what meditation actually is and what it's not, and the modalities. But when I came back, I had an intention that I'm going to teach Liverpool how to meditate. And but I wanted to do it in a way that was digestible, but also transferable. How do you actually transfer these skills into life? How can I get a normal average Scouse bloke, Scouse woman, householder to really tune into themselves, you know, to activate the powers of the practice of meditation, and to cultivate more presence in life. Because when we do that, we step up, you know, we align, we take ownership, and there's a level of responsibility. And these are the qualities that are needed nowadays. They're so needed. And so I was hungry for it. I had the container with Planet, and I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. But I knew it was going to come in the form of education. I started to do some meditation classes in Planet and in my home with Ange. Mm-hmm. But I realised I was hypnotising people. And I thought, no, this isn't about guiding someone into the practice. I need to educate them. And that was a whole new ball game. Mm-hmm. So I designed this course. It was a 10-hour process. I didn't want it to be too long, but I knew it had to be potent enough for someone to come along and get a lot from it.
And then want more.
And they want more.
Or to go deeper.
Yeah. So I designed this 10-hour process. It was a 2-hour class once a week for 5 weeks. And I called it A Course for Life. And, you know, it was, nice. I wanted people to understand what meditation really is and what it's not.
So meditation, A Course for Life.
Yeah. You know, why it's so important to adopt a small personal practice every day. How to do it, how to actually do it, but more importantly, how to transfer it. And so I kept, you know, to very classical methods, because I feel like the more classical we keep it, the easier it is to understand and transfer into life. Because it's become really romantic, especially in the West. And it's with, you know, as it gets romanticized, it's not so easy to transfer into daily life, especially when we're relating with others, you know, and how to communicate and negotiate with ourselves and the people around us. And people were ready for it. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. You know, I put this course together, and I have to honour all the students that came in my direction. And I just delivered information, but I give people a direct experience as well. And then over the course of the 5 weeks, you couldn't deny the change in people. Yeah. It was instant. Yeah. They were getting instant results, you know, and I was asking them to stretch, but not do something that was really uncomfortable. Yeah. And so I just suggested 10 minutes every day, purposefully, but to stick to these classical methods. And so we're creating conditions, really, you know, with these technical objectives. And what we are doing, we're just reclaiming our attention.
So is that one where you would describe what meditation is, the practice of meditation is?
Yeah, that's what I begin to start with.
Yeah.
I say, okay, meditation is a practice of presence, but we have to reclaim this attention. You know, we check out very frequently, and, you know, we get really oversubscribed to the mind, but we think not knowing we're thinking. Yeah. So until we actually capture our thoughts, we can't reason with them. We can't manage them. And, you know, we end up, you know, quite neurotic, and you know, going around the houses with our thoughts. So a lot of people are psychologically overthinking, not knowing they're thinking. And then when we begin to capture our thoughts, we begin to capture the themes of what's actually the movies, the stories we're telling ourselves. And then, you know, from there, there was, you know, the amount of people that just came in my direction, because through word of mouth, you know, but also people were ready for it. I remember opening up Planet Yoga in 2013, and not long after, about 6 months later, so many yoga studios opened in 2013, and they were all full. They were all full. So at any one time, like on a Monday night at 6 o'clock, there was hundreds of people practicing yoga. Yeah. And they were ready for it. So when I came, you know, back and wanted to, had this intention to teach meditation, it was just like everyone was ready. Yeah. And there wasn't many meditation teachers in Liverpool. There was the Kadampa Centre, and there was a few, you know, individual people. But I think because I was also a well-known guy from Liverpool, and people had witnessed my journey. A lot of people thought I went mad for quite some time, you know. And obviously with the yoga studio, there was just a huge amount of people, and it really, I caught a wave really, and so I was, by 2018, I was motoring. And people would come, they'd do this 5-week experience and they were like, is there more? And I was like, there is more. You know, I was offering people a wide perspective, almost giving them the solid formalities, the cornerstones. And then there are deeper perspectives, which is still the classical methods. So, you know, there was this process. They were doing like a level 1 course for life. And then, you know, they were coming back and then doing like a level 2. So that gave me an opportunity to take people deeper, to, you know, to transmit more information. And by the summer of 2018, I was like 6-7 months in advance. You couldn't get in with me, you know. And I was working 3 nights a week. And it just seemed, people just seemed to resonate with it, and the way I was delivering the information. It was grounded. It is grounded. It's pragmatic. I keep it real. You know, I don't romanticize and I don't glamorize the practice. And people just found a level of resonance with me. But I also had my own direct experience that I was able to draw upon. So I wasn't just copying and pasting, you know, and the way I was delivering the information, it felt like there was a roadmap, and it felt sensible. And yeah, there was a lot of people just having success, not just with the practice, but the amount of, you know, messages and emails I was getting with people were like, wow, I'm feeling better. You know, I'm feeling more grounded, or my relationships improving.
So they didn't just leave it in the meditation room.
Yeah.
You teach it in a way that the meditation is the tree and the branches of the life skills.
That's it. I mean, you know, it's how we showing up on a daily basis. You know, our waking moments, are we truly present? Are we grounded in the present moment reality? And within that, you know, are we living in natural vitality? Are we also managing our mind? You know, we can change our mindset, but we have to capture it first. And you also have to be prepared to let go of an old identity. You have to be prepared to challenge your narratives. And that's what meditation does. You know, it doesn't just offer you an experience of, you know, nurturing your naturalness. Because when we are resting in our nature, scientifically, we're in the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. You know, we're in an alpha brain state. Blood and oxygen pass through a different part of the brain. You release a different set of chemicals through the body. So you feel good. You know, as a byproduct of resting in your nature, you feel content and grounded and centered and open and connected. These are the qualities that almost arrive. And all we're doing is reclaiming our attention, managing the mind and reclaiming our attention. And so many people were getting a lot of benefits. It just seemed to spread like wildfire. I just honored the demand. The demand was high. It was incredibly high, but it also gave me an opportunity to uncover some blind spots for the practice. So I became a better teacher. You know, I have to give thanks to the students. The way I delivered the information just became more refined. And I had my own revelations in as a teacher. So I became a student as well through teaching. And it was thick and fast. It really was. And then COVID hit. So I hit this first wave, and then COVID hit. And then I just hit a second wave. You know, it was almost like all these people at home. You know, I'd made a name for myself in the city, you know, around the practice of meditation. Everyone was like stuck at home. And there was, you know, wellness was coming into the foreground of people's mindsets. Meditation, mindfulness. I mean, it's been a buzzword now for a few years, and self-development's like it's a multi-billion pound industry, you know. So I just did this second wave. COVID hit. But I continued to teach. And people were really struggling at home. So they came to me. They came to the practice, and then right through COVID, I just continued to teach. some of it was online, some of it was in person. You know, there was some social distancing. I just honoured that demand. People were really struggling as well.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was a duty. And it's been a pleasure. You know, I'm 8 years now into teaching meditation. And to almost, my intention was to teach people how to meditate, teach Liverpool how to meditate. And, you know, when I potentially begin to reflect back and maybe feel into the ripples that I've you know, hopefully created in Liverpool, then I just honoured that intention. And that was my driver. You know, within that, it moved beyond mindfulness then. You know, there was a lot of work that I did with yourself. You know, there was a lot of mentorship. There was a lot of, you know, I had my own personal therapist. But, you know, we began to hold space, you know, for men.
Yeah.
And so that opened my capacity to understand what is personal development. How do we develop personally? And then marry that with a sense of presence. And for me, that feels like how I deliver the information is that I feel like it's about living a healthy egoic identity, but with spirit, with awareness. And they coexist. And so that allowed me to, you know, design, you know, a mentorship course then for people who were really inspired for growth and transformation. So there was the heart of what I teach, which is, you know, awareness, presence, meditation. But then it branched out into coaching. And I found out that people need direction.
Yeah.
People need coaching.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about cultivating presence. It's about owning your shit. It's about understanding what's important. You know, it's about like finding out what's purposeful. And within that, you know, how do you manage time? You know, how do you manage yourself? How do you create a culture that brings around emotional satisfaction? How do you get into that win-win mentality? You know, and so, you know, my work has evolved
from teacher to coach.
From teacher to coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
From teacher to coach.
Yeah. How do you simplify meditation? And how do you make it cool? Because you seem to do that. It's like you've made meditation cool, a cool practice. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because, like I said at the beginning, people read about meditation. There's not many studies to say you shouldn't do meditation. Everybody knows it's potentially beneficial for multiple reasons on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But it's boring, it's dry, and people tend to try and practice it and get the wrong impression of it. How do you simplify it? What is it to you? What is it not?
So for me, it's an opportunity. You know, it becomes an opportunity to, you know, to be present. It becomes an opportunity to cultivate and activate so much joy and satisfaction. I think the golden nugget was actually the people that came in my direction. So I don't really teach meditation on a one-to-one basis. I teach it in a group setting, and all the people that came in the group setting were just you almost your normal householder. You know, it wasn't filled with like weirdos and hippies. You know what I mean? It was like the normal householder, and I almost weaved my own story in, to let people know that if I can do it, you can do it. You know, and so there was a delivery, which almost became, it was incredibly natural, and I delivered it in a way which was entertaining, you know, and it's like telling a joke. So you're telling a joke, and then, you know, when someone understands the joke, they get the punchline, and then the penny drops, and the penny seemed to drop many times in the classroom. And all I was doing was talking about life. Yeah. You know, I was telling people what they already knew, you know, but what they'd forgot. Or, you know, sometimes so many people can get, you know, so invested and busy in the mind that, you know, it becomes quite entangled. So through the methodology that I taught and still teach to this day, it give people a platform, to navigate with which it was almost like meditation for the idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But it was also letting people know anyone can do it. I think it started with understanding what meditation isn't.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people came to class.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah. And I think there's a misconception in our culture or in the West that meditation's about, naturally people go, I need to clear the mind. I want to clear the mind. And we can't clear the mind. The mind is a wonderful asset of ours.
These fucking thoughts.
The thoughts, we have a voice in the head it's a narrator, and we're narrating the world all day, every day. We think between 40 and 70,000 thoughts every day. So it's intellectual, and we can't stop the intellect. It's like going on a motorway and trying to stop the traffic. You cannot do it. So I think that was the revelation I actually start with in the practice. It's like, okay, let's start with what meditation isn't. It's not about clearing the mind. Let's get that right now. It's about reclaiming the attention and learning how to manage the mind. Because inevitably, when we learn how to manage this internal landscape, as an extension to that, we can stabilize our emotions. We can honor our needs. We can understand a little bit more about how we're behaving, but we can manage our behavior. And we do one or two things. We'll either own our stuff or we'll disown our stuff. And the people who disown tend to blame and shame the world, or they've given the power away. So they give the power away to external, to the objective future. Until this and this happens, I won't be this, then, I won't be happy. So I think the understanding of what it isn't, it's not about clearing the mind, it's about reclaiming the attention. That's once that penny's dropped. And then I give them that direct experience, even on the first class, after an hour where we just create them conditions of understanding. And then we have direct experience. And when a student has a direct experience where they're lost in thoughts, they notice they're lost in a thought and they're able to reclaim that attention, back to a technical objective, something as simple as the breath, then that becomes an internal experience. So instead of your attention being claimed by the outside world, I mean, there's a fight for our attention all day, every day by the big corporations. But when we can reclaim our attention at will and notice where we're placing our attention, then all of a sudden there's this sense of, wow, okay, I'm just here. I'm in this present moment reality. I've checked back in. And to check back into what's actually going on, but to have that as a practice and as a solution for fullness. Because we all want people to be present with us, but we don't know how to be present with other people. And so that, having that practice of a morning, maybe for 10 minutes, and maybe just reclaiming attention once or twice, that extends into life. Because then you notice when you're lost in thoughts. And when you notice you're lost in thoughts, you're able to notice the themes or the movies and the stories we're entertaining. So then we can reason with them, so we can manage them. And when we begin to manage, I use the term resolve. We begin to resolve the mind, resolve our thoughts, or dissolve our thoughts. And when we're resolving and dissolving and managing and concluding our thoughts, then on the other side of that is clarity, or mindlessness. We tend to just almost get elements of thoughtlessness when we do that. And obviously thoughts keep coming, but we're able to manage these stories. A lot of the stories in the head tend to be predictions, rehearsing the future, projecting, and it's because we're looking for psychological safety, but in this present moment, but we give it, we give the power to the future. So we cover a lot of bases. So people's life is driven by a destination. So they'll cover a lot of bases in the head, go to the worst case scenario, but a lot of people don't even make peace with the worst case scenario. So there's a lot of predicting, rehearsing, projecting to a possible future, which is fine, but don't spend your life predicting your future. Or there's a lot of reminiscing. You know, so we can learn a lot of faculties from the past and future, but we can get lost in them faculties, oversubscribe to the mind. And when we're psychologically overthinking without managing the mind, resolving and dissolving thoughts, then the body follows the mind. So the feelings then. So, you know, we can change our mood just through the stories we're telling ourselves. So when we capture the story, we can manage it. Is this serving me? What needs resolving? Do I need to extend this into a conversation with somebody? So then, you know, that then extends into having conversations and communicating and then negotiating with the world. You know, and then from there's a level of transparency and openness that we experience because it's all bottled in, you know, and then we place an assumption or an expectation onto other people without actually having clean and clear communication. And then, you know, the mood is changed or we're disappointed by the world through our assumptions. And, you know, there just seems to be this suffering on the inside and conflict and separation on the outside. And you know, the capacity to really investigate these movies and the themes of them, it became a game changer for me. You know, it really did. And these are the results people are having. Not just reclaiming attention and nature and naturalness, but actually managing the madness of the mind. You know, no one was sent here to manage the mind, and it's certainly something we're not taught in school, and it's a non-local phenomena. It's invisible, but we can't deny we have a voice in the head, and we can't deny that voice is playing out quite a lot. And when we notice the themes, we begin to manage them better. And the more we manage it, the more we manage our life. And I've really, you know, from my own direct experience, been able to step up and clean up and grow up, you know, as a person, as a man, and own my own stuff, but work into what's important to Martin and then begin to let go what's not important. So then my energy becomes productive. I become proactive. I feel like I'm really flowing towards what's important. A lot of people, unfortunately, you know, aren't investigating actually what culture they're in and, you know, what enterprise they're entertaining. And so, you know, and this is why a lot of people tend to be pretty polarized, or they'll reach into the world for some sort of instant gratification. And then people who are polarized tend to be minimized in that mindset of lack and scarcity. So there's a roadmap of understanding, and I deliver it in a way that people just get, you know, and then they place it into the life. They get their own, they then get, you know, confirmation through their own direct experience, which has an effect on the body, you know, which has an effect on the nervous system. But then also, you know, as an extension to that, people just begin to notice, wow, you're nicer to be around, or I feel into your authenticity. And so, and this is what it's all about. We're longing for connection.
On that, you've obviously changed a lot of people's lives. Well, you've influenced a lot of people's lives. I've spent time with you. I've seen the messages you get of gratitude. There's about 300 people going to your birthday party for tomorrow. I've seen people coming up to you in the street and getting emotional when they see you. You have this capacity to influence people. You mentioned connection. And my next question was going to be, how important is the group container to the success of the meditation practices? Because you're also connecting people. Yeah.
So the people in the group, they represent each other. They represent the world, you know. And so people were coming into the classroom and just seeing that, you know, and we'd have a small share, like a really small share based around the practice. So I'd give them a technical objective. They'd go away and they'd practice for the week, and then they'd come back and it's like, okay, how's your week been?
Check in.
How's that practice been? And when somebody opened up around how the practice was for them, we were just building resonance because everyone in the room was like, oh, that's happened for me. When I'm teaching, I teach universal concepts. I don't place a belief system into the room. And if I do, I'll let them know that it's a belief of Martin, this. But inevitably, I teach universal concepts. So it doesn't matter where the person is in their life. What I'm teaching works for everybody. It's universal. And so, you know, don't get me wrong, a lot of people's struggles tend to be with themselves, or, you know, they're not managing their mind. or they're polarized, or the relationships. You know, there's a lot of themes which are very similar why people come in my direction. They just feel a bit lost or a bit disconnected. But the group container was paramount.
Yeah,
it was paramount. Sure. It was the powers in the group, you know, and as I said, that, you know, each and every person in the room was able to resonate with the person sitting next to them or the person sitting on the other side of the room. And within a space of weeks, you know, there was a level of vulnerability and openness and and connection that you just couldn't deny.
Yeah.
You know, no one was judging anyone. Everyone was traveling through the course together, you know, and so people got really excited, not about just their own journey, but they got excited about other people's. Yeah. And some of the people I've met, you know, teaching, have become, you know, great friends of mine. And you know, I've watched people flourish, you know, in how people have met these people in these wonderful containers, you know, and some people have ended up, you know, getting married and having children. You know, I've got a friend of mine, he met his partner at a meditation, and it's just people with just a similar outlook on life, you know, wanting to feel into that self-development. And that extended into, you know, doing some like activities outside, you know, so it did become a wonderful community. And people come and go, and that community's, you know, at one stage, it's been flourished. And you know, there was a time where we were on Crosby Beach and when lockdown hit, and so it's been amazing to watch people come together. Yeah, you know, most people say, "Oh, do you teach meditation?" And I say, "Yeah, but it's in a group." The
real medicine is connection, isn't it?
Connection. That's what, at the end of each course, when people are in that vulnerability, and there's been instant transformation. But there's a level of depth just after 4 or 5 weeks, and there's a connection in the room, that connectedness, and inevitably that's what they've paid for. They've paid to feel connected to others.
For sure.
Because when we're in the mind and when we're really invested into our identity, you know, we become very biased.
We can't connect.
So when we're biased, we protect or we defend our points of view. You know, so that perspective on life, that filter, you know, disconnects us from who we think we're not meant to like. Yeah. And so it just creates separation. We want to be vulnerable. We want connection, but we have to be prepared to step through the fear and past that threshold where vulnerability is, you know. But vulnerability comes with the practice of meditation as well, because when you're nurturing your nature, you feel open. And it can be vulnerable, but vulnerability is our greatest strength. And then you are then closer, not just to a sense of self, but you also feel like you're closing the gap, you know, where we can connect with other people. And I've watched it, I've seen it. I've witnessed it. That's been the best part of my job, is witnessing someone wake up, is witnessing people transform, but witnessing it as a shared container.
Yeah, that shared container is absolutely critical. I really, really don't know. I don't actually know anybody that's had a really successful journey with meditation, doing it on their own.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. But yet so many people try it. The world of meditation apps is very, very popular.
Yeah. Because it can be a lonely journey, meditation.
Yeah.
Some, you know, people are almost afraid to tell their friends and, you know, family members, I'm trying this meditation. I mean, it's a lot more accepted now. You know, back in 2010, 11, you know, I was talking about meditation. People just thought I was going mad, you know, and people were like, what are you on about? Or what's all this meditation about? Yeah. But I couldn't deny the experience, the directness of it. Yeah. You know, it is a lot more socially accepted nowadays, you know, with this whole movement of wellness. But again, it's the understanding of it. Yeah. It is a personal practice. Yeah. It's something we do personally at home. It can become a very intimate experience. Yeah. But when we feel we're supported in a classroom environment, or by the people around us, you know, friends, family members, you know, work colleagues where actually like you're able to talk about it and then you feel supported. It's like, wow, good job.
For sure.
Yeah,
You're not on your own.
You're not on your own.
You were on your own, but you're not on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, the group container is absolutely critical for me.
Yeah.
It really is. So you're 40 now. We've got your birthday party tomorrow. Can't wait. Every time I see you, we've got something in common that we know that inside both of us is more untapped potential, more layers, more chapters. We're not going to be the same person 10 years from now than what we are now. And that actually excites us. It doesn't frighten us. What's next for you, mate?
So I have a high value in organic growth, and I love meeting new people, but I love expressing my gifts. And I think, through the gifts of mindfulness and coaching, the work continues. And I think I'll be in that space for many years, probably till the day I leave the body. It's become more exclusive. It's the way I teach is more refined, and there's always been depth, but I feel really steadfast, and super confident in how that looks moving forward. There are them classical methods. There's some more, I suppose, embodiment experiences and that I've begun to introduce. I was trained in Kundalini yoga as well, and I think nowadays people they need a bit of a fast track to to enthusiasm and vitality. But I have a high value in travel as well. I love the men's work that we do, Men Without Masks, and the work we've done there over the many years. And so I'm a father. I've got a little girl there, and she's 7 in November. And so I feel, the next stage of my life is travel, deepening into being a father and being a partner. Being with my partner now, Ange, for 8 years, and that's been a challenging, long and windy road. Yeah. But I really want to deepen into that container. We've got so much that we're learning about each other still, and I'm really committed to that space. I've recently, over the last 18 months, been training in a bodywork modality called Lomi Lomi. So I'd like to pursue that for sure. I feel like that, known as Kahuna body wisdom, that goes hand in hand with Vedanta wisdom, but it almost becomes the touch aspect of presence. And there's a lot of healing in it. We're being taught by an 84-year-old master at the moment, in a lady called Rosalie Samet, and she's been teaching for like over 40 years. And I'm so blessed to be, a part of that container, and to be, she's just become part of the family. She comes up to Liverpool, she stays with us for a week, and just being around her, just her own transmission, I'm learning a lot about, wisdom and growth. But I'm really excited. I see a lot of travel. There are a few other professional endeavours which have unfolded for me. And again, I give thanks to, the openness and there's still that like risk taker in me. Do you know what I mean? I like to say yes to life. So I'm excited for how things are unfolding. We're in a really interesting time, Craig. We're moving into it. I mean, we've been in a digital space for quite some time, and, I'm watching the world unfold, and I'm trying to foresee what life's going to look like for my child when she's, in her teens and, coming into her 20s, and how that's all going to look. We're not sure where we may even reside at the moment. We'd like to think that we could get a lovely house over the water. I've always had this vision, of having my own home, but a big enough space with some land to to continue the work of yoga and mindfulness and meditation. And what Ange does with the Lomi Lomi, and to bring our child into that, bring her up in this, in this way of life. I'm involved in a wonderful company at the moment called Win Water. So I'm learning a lot about, business in a different way. I'm making friends with different people. I'm also, in the process of opening up a children's care home. I worked with children for many years, and the way this is unfolding and the way it's landing for me, it feels necessary and quite divine, really. And I'm following that thread because there's a lot of children suffering out there. So I'd like to offer my services and skills in a way of actually transforming a youngster's life as well. And so, there's many things popping off. I'm also, quite inspired into the crypto space and what that looks like. And I try to, always show up for myself and recreate my own reality. I'm a different person than what I was 10 years ago. Yeah. The morality's still there. And, but I do feel a sense of maturity now. And I'm excited for the next 10 years of my life. I know that it's still going to be within service to men, service to being a father and a partner. But the big thing is I want to have fun in the process of it. I really I love human connection, and I love dance music as well. And so I'm following threads. I feel like the leadership that I've probably always led from the front for many years, and I feel like I'm almost leading from the back a little bit at the moment. I've been in the foreground, championing my own life, but there's a quietness that I'm really enjoying. I'm a private man, really, as much as I've been out there doing my thing, in the limelight. I'm a quiet and private man. I stay in my own lane. I keep things really simple. I love working out. I love a great workout. I love jiu-jitsu. That's definitely a newfound love. Gets me in the body, gets me spending time with men. I'm learning new things. I'm learning about a lot more about myself, just being, being on the mat. Shout out to me coach Danny at the moment. I'm having real good fun with that. And I'd like to do some traveling with that jiu-jitsu, I think, when zooming out and looking at it as a whole, I'm excited. I trust myself. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can achieve. But then zooming in and day to day, it's, I manage time well. And I love being a dad, and I love that responsibility. My child, she's the apple of my eye. And it just brings me into the heart to watch her and watch how her life's unfolding, and we have such a good time, we have such a laugh, and I'm installing, I let her be herself, but I feel like I'm really installing some groundbreaking, cornerstones of
principles.
Solid principles for her. We have rules for life, you know what I mean? We've got 12 rules for life. We've made 7 at the moment, and they're just in there. But I'm also, I understand that change is inevitable, and I like spontaneity. So it's there's a groundedness to my endeavours, but I'm also open to possibility, and I understand that, nothing's ever guaranteed, and it's a big mystery, as you know yourself, Craig, and I'm excited for that mystery. I know that my human experience is going to be decorated with all kinds of emotion. There's going to be bliss, there's going to be there's going to be loss, there's going to be sadness, and there's going to be grief, And I know that's also going to be a process of being human and experiencing that, you know, as I weave through my days. But I remain optimistic. I'm a man of the world, but I like to bring that sort of mystery into every day. And I have a really good balance, you know. I feel like I'm in the body, I'm in the world, do me thing, you know, I'm in that physical form. But there's also there's this like esotericness, you know, this awareness that just seems to, you know, spontaneously play out in my life. You know, there's this like real healthy magician, you know, that I connect with on a daily basis. And so, yeah, it's all on the table, and I'm truly excited for it.
It's nice to hear you talking about the next chapter and talking about family and a home and collaboration in business, because I've seen you over the last 10 years and you just give. So it's really nice to see you back off a little bit from that.
Yeah.
And you're easier to get hold of these days as well. Okay, so we could talk for hours and we'll do a part 2 and a part 3.
Yeah.
But my final question is, you've spoke quite eloquently, and you always do, about presence, which is it's difficult to talk about presence and mindfulness, and you do it really well. So for anybody out there that is watching this or listening to this, and now they're thinking, shit, I'm not present. I'm just unconscious. I never even stop. I need to do something about this. My health's not good. I'm stressed. I'm not sleeping well. My relationship's under pressure. I want to be more present.
Yeah.
What simple tips could you give them? What would your advice give? What advice would you give to that person?
The big one is to try and cultivate some space. And what I mean by that is, you know, maybe what we do in the first half an hour of our day, and also what we do in the last half an hour of our day, can really influence our day.
Oof.
You know, and so when I'm teaching people, I you know, I don't just teach them what meditation is and what it's not and why it's so important and how to do it. I also talk about certain attitudes that we need for the practice, and ways to prepare. And them ways to prepare, you know, they can be groundbreaking. And, you know, it's some simple tips like the practice of meditation starts with an intention. You have to have an intention to give this a shot. But beyond that intention, we have to create some space. So we have to manage a bit of time. So upon reflection, you have to look at maybe what time you do get up, you know, and what your morning routine looks like. Everyone who's listening to this call has a morning routine.
Yeah.
You know, so what that routine looks like.
Even 15 and 15, right?
That's it. Yeah. 15 and 15. And for me, you know, if we begin to manage a bit of time and then commit, you know, create some space, manage the time, and then commit. Because the proof's in the pudding. So by default, if we manage the time, maybe just give ourselves 15 minutes of a morning. You know, I always invite people to hydrate first and foremost. You know, it's something I do every morning. I'll wake up, I go downstairs and I hydrate. You know, I drink win-win water, you know, put some electrolytes in it. And then I'm accessing that hydration. And then I'll go and I've already created the space. I'm never chasing my tail. I like to ease and tease into the day. And then I'll head towards that meditation cushion, or I'll sit on the couch. Or if it's a nice day outside in the summer, I'll go and sit outside in the garden. And then I'll do 10 or 15 minutes, you know. I have my own personal practice. There's some, you know, I'll activate a little bit of breath work, maybe for a couple of minutes, you know, when I'm just lengthening the breath. And that's almost like a bit of a warm-up for, for when you want to reclaim that attention and place it upon a technical objective. So the tip is to create the space first, manage the time. And then when you've managed the time, you're able to then at least give it a shot, give it a shot. And then you get results. An instant result from the practice is when you reclaim attention. It's like I call it mental fitness. You're in the gym, your attention's, off in thoughts. You notice it's off in the thoughts. And what you do is you actually signpost your attention back to the breath. So there may even be a thought process around, oh, I'm thinking. Come back to the breath. Come back to, because the beautiful thing with the breath is it's in the present moment reality. It's a very pragmatic technique, but it's intimate, so it's really close and it's undeniable. And you're also beginning to observe what's actually going on in the present moment reality at the level of your breath. So them simple tips of creating some space, commit to 10 minutes, and then give it a shot. It just unfolds. It really does. But it's become a commitment for me. Sometimes it is still difficult. So occasionally I may get up and go, I'll leave it this morning, or I'm a bit busy. But I always make sure I've created the space, whatever's unfolding. I've got a child, I've got to get her ready for school, and it's easy. We live a life of comfort. So a lot of people are just doing enough, or they'll make excuses, so it does require a level of accountability. So creating the space and also self-accountability, or maybe ask to be accountable, by a friend, or go on a journey with a friend. Say, should we do this for 20 days? Have a buddy up. Do you know what I mean? That's always a good one. But but inevitably seek a teacher. Know what I mean? Seek a class, invest. There's some great teachers out there. Invest in it in a small course, whether that's online or whether that's with someone like myself. Go and give it a shot. And because that investment as well it's also connected to self-worth. And people are like, okay, I'm invested now. I'm investing in my development. And the practice of meditation, it's an ancient soul practice. It's stood the test of time. But it's not just so easy to sit down and try and clear the mind, and that's the problem. There's a whole journey with it, and that's what I do when I'm teaching. I don't leave no stone unturned, but I deliver it in a way which is so easy to follow and enjoyable. We enjoy it, and then people really actually do want to go on a little journey with the practice, and they keep it up. When we keep up the practice, we are kept up by the practice. And to live a life of presence, to be truly in the moment and to see it for as it is, you actually begin to not just see the magic in the mundane, but the more we practice and the more we neutralize into our nature, it gives birth to natural gratitude. We maximize our experience, and then there's a contentment which follows on from there, and then there's a managing of our psychology, and all this then just seems to be, you feel more aligned, you feel like you understand yourself more. When we understand ourselves more, it also gives us the opportunity to understand others more, gives birth to compassion, natural compassion. We don't have to try to be kind. It happens. It does happen. It unfolds. So, my invitation to anyone is like, give it a shot, create some space, commit to it, and find a teacher.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Wow, we could talk for hours, couldn't we? Okay, so for anybody that's watching this that wants to know more about Martin Bone or more about what you offer and the work that you do, where can they find you?
So got a nice little platform on Instagram. It's an opportunity for me to express myself, and that's what I use it for. Which is
Martin Bone Meditation, right?
Martin Bone Meditation. And there's a website, same Martin Bone Meditation. And there's pretty much 3 containers on the website. There's mentorship, meditation, and then there's an online there's an online meditation app. And that's a good place to start. It's good. It's good to have an app. You know, it's good to get guided, but we can't give our power away to the guide. You know, because then you know, we're not really reclaiming our own attention ourselves. But it's a great place to start for sure. So yeah, check the website out. You know, a lot of my work is done in person, but I do also silent retreats. I do like a 1-day immersion for 5 people, really intimate experience, and then I've just now extended that to a 2-day silent retreat, which I'm doing my first 2-day silent retreat in September.
Great.
And it gives people a taste, you know, into a longer, deeper retreat. But sometimes people just need a couple of days, you know, digital detox, away from the noise of life. And you know, I think with the practices I offer, and I'm a great host, I'm able to hold people in a way where, you know, it just gives them that, it gives the nervous system an opportunity to, it's a little reset. You know, it's an opportunity to relax. And then when we're in that space, we have so many revelations that come through as well. You know, we're not just lost in thoughts. You know, we can really make sense of some things. You know, so yeah, that's where it's all happening. Silent retreats, mentorship, meditation, and win-win water. Yeah, you know, I tell people, you know, what water are you drinking nowadays? You know, the big issue with plastic, but that's definitely another conversation.
Thank you, mate.
So thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
All the best.
All the best to you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
So thank you for listening or watching. And what I'd also like to say is, if you're a man out there and you resonate with Martin's story and you resonate with me and you resonate with our connection together, both me and Martin, in mid-January 2005, we will be starting to lead a 7-month leadership journey for men, which is a number of group coaching calls, an online platform with information about modern masculinity and leadership, and the bulk of the 7-month program, or if we can say the epicenter, is a 10-day retreat late March to the mountains of Peru. So if you're interested in that as a man, as a leader that wants to fulfill his potential, you can contact craigwhitementoring.com, or you can contact Martin through martinbonemeditation.com. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Martin.
Craig.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Dare to be Different.